Hey everyone, before we get to the games I'm about to talk about, I want to give a quick shout out to Doom, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary today. So happy birthday to Doom, like one of the most kick-ass video game franchises of all time. It is purely iconic and based. So happy birthday to Doom. With with that quick shout out of the way, let's get to the main topic of this video. So the first game we're going to be talking about is a brand new IP set by a brand new studio, which is called Exodus, and the studio behind it is called Archetype Entertainment. Now, what kind of studio are they? What time do they have? Well, it's formed of ex BioWare developers who obviously make like Mass Effect, Jade Empire, Knights of the Old Republic, etc. So they also have ex other talent based on studios that we all know, like 343 and Naughty Dog. So they have some pretty good talent behind this game. Now, what kind of game is it? It's a sci-fi RPG that delves into time dilation, which is something you don't see nowadays when it comes to like AAA IP. So it definitely has my attention alone. I mean, come on, it's sci-fi. It's still you play as a character called the Traveler, where he basically has to go on this journey about time dilation and everything. Also involves something about where his daughter is missing or something like that. So I'm very curious to see where it goes. Now, surely the trailer is mostly just CGI, but at the end you actually see some gameplay, as you see right here. So it's a third-person game, of course. I mean, you would expect that from ex-Bioware developers, so that's not surprising though. Very exciting and very intriguing to see where this goes. It seems like it plays well too, just based on the quick snippets that we've seen from it. But yeah, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. If you're a game developer, you can join them, or you just a casual viewer, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can stay tuned on whenever they decide to talk more about the project. Now, is it coming out? Who knows though? I don't know. They didn't give a release date, so who knows how far in development it is. But based on, it seemed like it's in pre-alpha, based on the gameplay, but still, it was nice they showed gameplay from one of these games that were announced at the Game Awards. So, because a lot of times with new game announcements like CGI, I know that's like a criticism, but I agree with others that saying that come on, like I want to see gameplay of these games so I could get a better idea of what the game plays like and everything. Because CGI typically doesn't tell you that at all. Sure, CGI is cool and all. I get with CGI though; it's needed sometimes, but still. Anyway, moving on from Exodus, very excited to see where it goes. Now, the next game we're going to be talking about is The Last Sentinel. What exactly is it? It is another brand new IP. It's set by a brand new studio, but the owner of the studio is very interesting. I'll explain that in a minute. It's being made by Lightspeed LA, which is owned by Lightspeed Studios, who also owned by. We'll get to that later. So they even gave out a quick little press release. I'll read that to you. Now I'll explain what I mean by who owns this group. Lightspeed LA unveils Studio's debut game, Last Sentinel, new AAA open world experience set in futuristic Tokyo. It's a division under Lightspeed Studios, a global game development studio with teams across the world focused on creating expansive open world AAA games. It is proud to unveil its debut game, Last Sentinel. Last Sentinel puts the spotlight on protagonist Hiromi Shota and takes place in a futuristic world centered in the what remains of Tokyo, Japan, featuring an utterly unique environment, cast, narrative, and gameplay experience. Last Sentinel is soaked in the written, graphic, and theatrical history of dystopian science fiction. It's the emerging studio led by Steve C. Martin, industry veteran with over 25 years' experience creating groundbreaking games and leading diverse global teams. Previously known for his work on critically acclaimed titles like GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2, and Bully. Shout out to Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2. Shout out to that. The their team itself is a global development group titled with deep experience and expertise that includes work on such AAA leading games such as Last of Us, Jedi Fallen Order, Uncharted, Grand Theft Auto, and God of War. So again, just like Exodus, this new studio seemingly has a lot of talent behind it. But who owns the studio is Tencent, and we all know who they are, right? Obviously, China, they invested in so much into the industry, so seemingly, I guess The Last Sentinel is like one of their first moves, big moves into the mainstream. Now, however you feel about Tencent, hopefully the game is good. I mean, it has some good talent behind it. And a new AAA open world IP set in like the far future of Tokyo, Japan. It certainly has my interest for sure, though. Sure, the CGI doesn't have any gameplay in it, so but just based on talent alone, it's probably gonna be a third-person game. I mean, come on, like GTA, Red Dead Redemption 2 from former Rockstar developers, based on God of War, and basically all those games have one thing in common. They're third-person games, so I'd say it's kind of obvious that it's gonna be a third-person game set in the open world, obviously. So probably it's obviously narrative-driven too. The premise itself has me excited, but we'll see what happens though. Hopefully the team can actually just let them cook, you know. So Tensa hopefully don't interfere and just let the team do their thing. So we'll see what happens though when it'll come out. I don't know. They didn't exactly tell us anything, just based on the CGI and kind of what the premise of the game is. So it's probably early in development, and apparently it started production like last year, so it's pretty early. So we'll see what happens though. Now the final game I'd say is the one that caught the most of my attention. Once you find out who is making it and what IP is it, well, what exactly is this game? It is called Marvel's Blade, and for any comic book fan, you would know what IP I'm referring to. Where it's going to be a mature AAA third-person single-player game, which is something that Arcane doesn't do. They do first-person games, so that already is a huge change, which makes sense because yeah, it better be a third person for a character like Blade, honestly. It's set in Paris, so very interesting. Hey, it's a superhero game not set in New York for once, so very interested already. Now, Arcane obviously is owned by Bethesda, who is owned by Microsoft, so I guess this is Microsoft's superhero game, I guess, that everybody's been begging them to do. Well, interesting that it was Blade, honestly, because we haven't had a Blade game, AAA Blade game since like the sixth generation. It's been so freaking long. And the fact that it's being made by Arcane Leon, who made Dishonored and Deathloop, both critically acclaimed games. Yes, please. I'm very interested in it already. You've already got me sold, Arcane. Just let them cook, as the developers themselves said while on stage. So, shout out to Arcane, man. I hope just make the best game you can, because typically you make good games. Typically don't sell well, unfortunately. But maybe this is the game that kind of changes that because it's based on a licensed IP, and that brings a lot of attention to them. I mean, look how the Spider-Man games did for Insomniac and Sony. So hopefully Blade can have the same, success for Arcane and Bethesda. We'll see though. Now it'll come out. Who knows? And what platforms? Obviously, curiously, there's no Xbox logo in it, but my guess is just because development just started, so it's a long, long way away. And for all we know, it could be a 10th generation game. For all we know, which is kind of insane to already think about because we're already in like the third year of this current console generation. But will it be an Xbox exclusive? Yeah, most likely. I mean, come on, they went back to the drawing board with Disney and made Indiana Jones exclusive. So chances are, you always think that we're talking about Blade to them, to Marvel and Disney when they're talking about Indiana Jones. Come on, I think it's pretty obvious this game will be exclusive too. Now, so Microsoft have its superhero exclusives like Sony and Nintendo did, and hey, maybe in the future Microsoft does another IP like Sony is with Wolverine. We'll see though. I guess it depends on how Blade does, but we'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, all three games definitely have me very excited. I'd say the most exciting one personally for me is Blade because it's something that I'm familiar with. But other way though, all three games have me really excited. So we'll see what happens with all three. I'll definitely be covering all three once we get out more information about it, especially Blade though. But that one is probably the furthest out, I'd say, because Arcane themselves said development just started. But then again, I did hear that Blade started development like last year, which kind of makes sense because Microsoft's probably talking to Disney about the whole Indiana Jones situation. They probably were talking Marvel at the same time, most likely. I mean, come on, they're both Disney IP, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I think that's all I gotta say on this one. Not too much to go off here. Besides, these games are pretty exciting. They have my personal interest in them. So, what do you guys think of these game reveals? Let me know down in the comment section below. And if you like this video, hit the like button and consider hitting that sub button so you do not miss any more videos. And I'll see you on the next one. Till then, have a good one.